Hello, my name is Melissa Carter, and I am the blogger at You Only Have Your Shelf to Blame, which is book recommendations based on books that are authentically on my bookshelf, because I feel that if you want to know yourself, get to know yourself better, then just look at what is on your bookshelf, because that is what you've gathered. By the way, University of Tennessee, go Vols. Has nothing to do with the book today. I just have this jacket on. So this book this week, if you like thrillers, and this is not even a fictional book. This is a nonfiction historical book, because I do love history. I had no idea about this. I had no idea that this is how we learned that radium poisoning is a thing. Like there always has to be a discovery. So when Madame Curie discovered radium with her husband. And I don't know if you've seen, there's been depictions, I think it's on either Netflix or HBO, about her and recent movies made. Like they would take radium in a vial and put it in their pocket, take it home, look at it at night as it glowed. I mean, it just almost makes me nauseous to think about that now. But back then, they thought it was a cure-all. They wanted to put radium in everything because the idea was that it was this magical drug.
Magic.
And I guess because they did find that radium shrunk tumors, which we know today. We still use radiation today for that purpose. But what they didn't understand was that it poisoned you. Radium Girls by Kate Moore. If you have not read this book, you need to read this book. It is shocking. So basically, it's about a group of teenagers in two areas of the country that simply went to work for a company that made glow-in-the-dark dials. And the way they made glow-in-the-dark dials was from paint that had radium in it. And so these teenage girls in these towns made more money at this plant than they did in other jobs. And so it became very popular to work there. And I think it started out as clocks, I believe. And then when the war broke out, and again, we're talking about the early 1900s, when the war broke out, then the military needed glow-in-the-dark dials for some of their vehicles. And so these companies had more orders, and so they hired more people. So basically, I'll just I have a random dry erase board marker near me. So they would paint with the paint. But the way to do it faster and more efficiently, that's how they were taught to put a point on their brush, on a paintbrush. They would dip it, put it in their mouth, and paint.
What?
And it was paint that had radium in it. And these girls suffered the consequences of it. And it is jaw-dropping. Literally and, reactionally. I don't know, it's not even a word. But their jaws were affected. I mean, it is, because I just finished reading this. So the way that I got to Radium Girls is this week actually talking about it with a local book club through my library. So I am a part of two book clubs, which I am inconsistent with, honestly. So I'm fortunate to be a part of two book clubs that allow me to be there when I can. And one is through my library and one is a geeky, sci-fi fantasy book club. No! But, and I'm a slow reader. I've mentioned that before. So the reason that I can't be there all the time is because I just can't keep up with a book a month. But this was one of the book club. And I thought, well, that's an interest, because it's one of those things. Well, it's a good recommendation from them. They, they're people of the library. They know books. And I'm telling you, I don't know if I've been as affected by a book as the way I've been with this, because it's history I did not know. You learn about the plants. You learn, like I mentioned, the dip in the paint. And then you learn what happened to these girls after dipping and painting and basically eating radium paint for years. Some of these girls worked at these plants for years. You'll see how old they lived to be. You'll see what condition they were when they passed. And the court cases that came from it. The fact that it was these girls that inspired the testing on radiation poisoning. And it was these girls that inspired radium poisoning to be a workplace problem. It's one of those things where you learn about, new technologies. Like, new technologies come. I mean, the discovery of radium was a phenomenal feat for the Curies, but they didn't realize the danger at first. I mean, obviously, they do believe that Mr. Curie also died, even though he was run over by a carriage. They think that the radium poisoning is what caused him to be disoriented enough. If you don't know, he died walking out into the street in front of a horse carriage. And now they believe that the radium poisoning is what caused him to be loopy enough to do that. And obviously, Mary Curie died from radium poisoning. So, I mean, it's not funny. It's that sometimes you have to laugh at how shocked you are at, again, the naivete of people and the greed of companies. This also talks about corporations and greed.
We've got to have money.
So, Radium Girls. Whew, it's a read that you'll be like, wow. It's just a wow read. If you have any other books that have affected you that way, whether it's fiction, fantasy, nonfiction, again, usually it's historical nonfiction that causes me to have those kinds of reactions. But we would love to hear in the comments what books made you feel that way. Like, it's just like you when you're done with it, you want to tell people, like everybody if you've not read this book, you've got to. And Radium Girls is one of those books that I will definitely be telling people, if you're a history buff especially, you've got to. These girls are heroes because it's through them that we have discovered how we needed to contain that dangerous element.
Keep him, the Sandhill, away from that lab.
You only have yourself to blame.com is the website. And I appreciate you being here. And you can subscribe to You Only Have Yourself to Blame. And you can get a newsletter that has the links in there for the books that I choose every week. And there's a link down below for Radium Girls. So I'm telling you, it's one of those books. And I hope you read it. And I'd love to get your feedback on it once you do. Thank you so much. And we'll talk next time. Bye-bye.